So much coming out, guys, that is finally validating all of the conspiracy theorists for the past decades. On September 16th, everything was so overshadowed by the FBI Kash Patel hearings that we missed something else going on, and that is those hearings that were hosted by the House and were chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene. So what I'd like to do is give you her opening statement, which gives us a summary of what the government is looking into and questioning. Basically, they're finally publicly investigating weather control, so here we go. First, let me remind you to please, if you like my videos, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the reminder, because the channel, well, they're deliberately trying to shut me up through the algorithms. But we'll keep going as long as we can, and we'll work it out. I need your help in sharing the videos to get them out, since they're not appearing in the feeds, and I'll keep going as long as you want me to. So here we go. This is a meeting, as I said, Tuesday, September 16th, and it was chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here's her comments.
Good morning and welcome to today's hearing. I would like to first ask for a moment of silence to pray for Charlie, Kirk, Erica, and their children. Thank you. Humans have been trying to control the weather for centuries. Native American tribes performed ceremonial dances to summon rain during droughts. The Mayans sacrificed humans to their rain god. Today, people are still trying to call the weather. But some things have changed. Modern attempts at weather control don't appeal to divinity. Instead, they use technology to put chemicals in the sky. Cloud seeding, for instance, uses silver or lead iodide to try to increase rainfall in a specific location. What's also changed over time is the scale of ambition. Today's advocates of geoengineering don't just want to address droughts or improve conditions for agriculture. They want to control the Earth's climate to address the fake climate change hoax and head off global warming. That, of course, requires massive interventions. What methods do they use? They want us to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Yes, the same carbon dioxide that keeps plants alive and prevents mass starvation. Another method? They want to use it to block the rays of the sun from hitting the Earth. You heard that right. Yes, the same sun that makes all life possible on Earth. Some scientists think they can predict and control the impact of geoengineering. But even the best scientific models will never be able to capture all of God's wonderful creation and nature's mysteries. So we can predict the real impact these global-scale interventions would have only a little better than the Native Americans could know the impact of their rain dances. And we're not talking about experiments that take place within the four walls of a laboratory. Our world is the laboratory, and we happen to be the lab rats. Blocking the sun would have unknown consequences that no scientific climate model could ever reliably predict. This could include serious reductions in crop yields, significant changes in plant and animal life, disastrous ozone depletion, not to mention the damage done to human health. The reality is that the federal government has a long history of experimenting with weather modification. That includes a 1947 attempt by the military and General Electric to intercept a hurricane off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. It includes an event in the 50s and 60s where the U.S. Army admitted to spraying a mysterious chemical over a neighborhood in St. Louis, Missouri, which residents now claim is giving them cancer. It includes Project Storm Fury, a series of efforts in the 60s and 70s to weaken hurricanes by seeding clouds with silver iodide. And it includes Operation Popeye, an effort to create monsoons to aid our military efforts during the Vietnam War, literally weaponizing weather. While these are different events scattered throughout history, A serious campaign to commercialize geoengineering to fight global warming would be a vastly larger enterprise and, honestly, a pretty profitable one. Hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars could disappear into the coffers of research universities and the academic scientists who beat the drum of global warming alarmism. Venture capitalists are already trying to get rich, backing companies like Make Sunsets, which injects aerosols into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. It's worth asking, what if scientists could somehow manage to create a temperature dial that could be rotated to reliably set the global climate? Who would control the dial? After all, people in different regions prefer different weather conditions based on their local geography, economy, and way of life. The global climate impacts everyone and doesn't respect state or national borders. So would we need a world government to make choices on how to turn the climate dial? Where does it end? Despite the profound questions around geoengineering, the scientific community is pressing ahead, and they're getting financial support to do so from universities and left-leaning philanthropists like Bill Gates, who has funded geoengineering research. In June 2023, the Biden White House Science Office report on solar engineering notes that academia, philanthropy, and the private sector have examined preliminary applications of climate intervention techniques, such as stratospheric aerosol injection and marine cloud brightening, which are techniques classified as solar radiation modification, or SRM, intended to rapidly limit temperature increases. One thing we learned from COVID is that, well, it's a mistake to allow the professional scientific community alone to determine federal science policy. The same professional scientific community that closed ranks around the need to close schools and businesses due to COVID is of a single mind when it comes to global warming. They are convinced that global warming is such an immediate risk to mankind that it justifies the catastrophic risk of blocking out the sun. It's for the greater good, they say. But honestly, I don't think it's the job of the federal government to help these people play God with the weather. In fact, I think it's the job of Congress to protect our people and make sure that weather and climate control experiments and activities do not create adverse, unintended consequences for the rest of us. That's why I am grateful for the transparency the Trump administration is shedding on this issue. Leading this effort is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin.
MTG then played a video clip of Mr. Zeldin, and here's the transcript.
Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government. That era is over. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now, publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics, and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head-on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA Administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up at the streaks in the sky and asked, "What the heck is going on?" or seen headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming, We endeavor to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the human environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
The link to this site for the contrails will be in the description. The meeting went on to interview several witnesses, which I will link in the description if you'd like to listen to each testimony. But climate control, chemtrails, and geoengineering have moved to the forefront, and if you haven't seen a decrease yet, you are likely to see some changes soon.